Welcome to the Gridiron Unfiltered podcast powered by Recon Sports, the show where we take a deep dive into the world of sports performance. I'm your host, Danny Davis, and today we're talking about one of the biggest questions coaches and football teams are trying to solve. How do you put together the best locker room possible? Not just the best players, but the right personalities, the right fit, the guys who are going to match your team's culture. And once you have that group, what do they need? What kind of support, structure, and resources does a locker room need to truly thrive? And to help break this all down is the starting nose tackle and team captain of the Burlington Longhorns, a professional football team in the Ontario Power 5 Football League. He's 61 years old and has played football across 6 different decades. He's also the author of 61 and Never Forgotten, a powerful and inspiring story about grit, purpose, and staying the course. Darin Burns, welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Darin, you've been in locker rooms spanning across 6 different decades, which is a extremely rare perspective. You're quite literally right now playing alongside guys who are 40 years younger than you, and that's really unheard of. So what's that experience been like from generation to generation? You look back at the 70s, 80s, all the way till now. What really stands out in your mind?
Well, I go back to the 1970s. When 1979, when I was playing junior football, the youngest age was really 18, and I made the team at 15. So I was called the kid. So it was kind of a perspective of being called a kid. And just this past weekend, I was walking off the field and heading to the locker room, and the player from the opposing team opened the door up for me and said, "It's an honor to open the door up for you, sir." So, I've gone from yin to yang, on the whole thing. But, back in the day, locker rooms were, I don't know, they're more conservative, quieter, there was more purpose in the locker room and guys just talk. Now it's like banging music and guys going crazy and screaming and stuff. So it's evolved to, I don't quite understand it, but it's evolved.
Interesting. Is there something that you've maybe done to try to understand it or fit in, or are you kind of just, hey, I'm the old school guy of the group?
No, I fit in. I joke with the guys. Like, I always try to make the guys feel welcome. I give them pointers and stuff like that. But in the locker room, we just, it's more, I'm getting the grandpa jokes and stuff like that, which is fun. I mean, they're playing into it, and I'm asking where their mother is, just having some fun with the guys. For me, it's just been strange because you go from being called the kid to grandpa, and all the years in between of being the player, the captain, the leader, and all this. And I'm still a leader on the team. I mean, I don't want people to think I'm 61 and I'm just there. I play 80% of the snaps on defense. I had a sack, batted pass, almost got an interception this weekend. So, I play, and I'm playing right now with a torn bicep and a torn patella and a broken finger. So, and nothing's going to get me off the field. But the locker rooms, have become, I don't know, it's just more music and there's less focus. I think it's more of a party atmosphere today versus back in the day. The coaches would walk into the locker room and they would have your meetings and you get into, you're into your areas. And now it's just, you do your meetings outside the locker room, you do this, that. So it's more just get in there, listening to loud music and joke around and get on the field. So I don't mind it because, I don't really warm up with the team because the exercises the kids do today that I used to do 40 years ago don't work well for us older people. Like, we need to spend 10 minutes on hamstring, 10 minutes on back, to loosen up areas. Otherwise, we're going to tear the crap out of them during the game. So I kind of stretch with my trainer on the side. I get a massage, I get the heat, I get all that stuff. So I don't really hang with the players like doing the warm up on the field kind of thing. But the locker room is more of a party atmosphere, loud music. I have my headsets on. I listen to old school R&B. I'm an old school guy, so I'm not into all of this. Even though I know a few rappers and stuff like Drake. Bruce's my mentor, Bruce Smith. He was Drake's godfather. So I've known Aubrey since he was a little snot, 4 years old. So, but the locker room, the music is just the music has changed. The party atmosphere in the locker room. That's about it. It's still
so
the same thing.
What would you say? Looking at maybe What were some of the key attributes of teams that you saw that maybe didn't have the most talent, or you look back and they didn't have the best record, but you look back on that team and it was like there was a sense of brotherhood, or that was a great group of guys to be around? Is there any attributes of those teams that kind of stick out in your head?
To me, the greatest football team I've ever played for, and that's, through my pro and all the semi-pro teams, I was the Ottawa Bootleggers. It was a team that was made of basically a bunch of CFL, Canadian pro football player, Canadian players, rejects, which we all, when you're cut and you're not playing anymore, we feel we're all rejects. So you had about 35 of us on the team, and we played American rules, American field, and we were the number one team ranked in North America. That's with LA and Colorado and New York and Brooklyn and all these teams that were in there. And what really upset the Americans was the North American Championship for the American Semi-Pro League had to be played in Canada that year because we were the number one team in North America. So we were beating the Americans 50-0, 72-0. We were just destroying teams. And we had this chip on our shoulders that we're Canadian. And let's face it, Americans look at that's their game, and Canadians, we still play a pretty good ball game as well. And then you look at the fact that we were discarded from the pros up in Canada, and we all got together. So we had a chip on our shoulder. So we went undefeated until the last game we played Racine, Wisconsin. It was minus 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Snow coming not down, but on a 45 with wind. You couldn't see the field. Like, we had marker. It was a complete S show, if you want to call it that. It was one of the coldest games I've ever played in. We lost 15-13 because we couldn't kick field goals, couldn't kick extra points. It was just complete chaos on the field. But it was that was probably the greatest team. I mean, the guys, we had fun. We all either played against each other or we played with each other on teams. It was a really good brotherhood. The guys were really tight, and we're still tight till this day. I mean, we're still got our Facebook page. We still stay in communication. So that's going back 37 years now, and some of the guys, it's kind of funny. Some of the guys came to watch me play, and they could barely walk up the stairs, so, that made me feel good. I see my buddies crawl up the stairs, and I'm still running around chasing quarterbacks. So, but no, I would say that was probably, the greatest team I've ever played on. Like, we could have beaten the CFL team if we wanted to. We had amazing talent, great quarterback, great offensive line, great defense. Our defense was crazy. And our defensive coordinator that year, became the head coach later on, ended up coaching professionally and at university level. So we were starting, and he was an old teammate of mine. So it's kind of a, teammate, my teammate being my coach. So that would be probably the greatest team I played on. My days with trying out with the Hamilton Ticats training camp was pretty good. We had a lot of fun during training camp because training camps were 6 weeks long and very boring, and at the pro level. So I was always the guy creating pranks and having
If you
fun.
were, at the college level right now, you have there's certain teams, especially the high school level, and certain, the semi-pro teams where you don't really have the say of the guys that are coming into the locker room. At the college world, you have a pool of thousands, if not 100,000 athletes. What would be your advice to coaches or athletic directors when they're evaluating these players? Yeah, okay, now they're talented, but is this guy going to be a good fit into my culture? Is this guy a good dude? How do you kind of go about evaluating that portion of an athlete?
I would take 3-star players over a 5-star player with character any day of the week. You get some of these guys, it's all about, we had a guy on our team one time, I was coaching, he said, hey, I said, this was a team. He says, he goes, yeah, but there's no I in team, but he goes, yeah, but there's I in win. I was like, okay, that's a good one. But, I look for character. I look for people that work hard, that want to do the difficult work. I've mentored a bunch of kids that have become successful at the pro level and about to become pro. I got one kid that's probably going to go in the first round of the NFL draft that wasn't going to play football at 14 years of age. And my son went to Episcopal High School in Alexandria, Virginia, and he was leaving. And so they wanted to know if there's any other Canadian kids up here that I could send down to Alexandria. So there's this one kid, he didn't want to go, then the school didn't want him, and then he didn't want to go, and I managed to get them there because he's like my son, great character, great work ethic. So he went down, he ended up with 25 Power 5 offers in NCAA. He started as a freshman at Virginia, he transferred to Boston College, and Logan Taylor, he's 6'8", 330 pounds, offensive tackle, protects the blind side of the quarterback. Um, he's got great character. But what I look for, if I'm looking at kids that I want to put under my wing, if I feel that I see a kid coming from high school that I want to give him my attention and try to develop him, is I look at their report card. And in the report card, you have a column in there that's got, I don't know if in the States they do, but in Canada, we have a column where their exam marks are there, and then their marks during the rest of school there, and then that's their average for their term. So I look at things like if I see a kid that shoots a 75 in class and then writes a 92 on the exam, wow, he's an 86 average, right? That's great. I look at that as a bad thing. I look at that because you're shooting an 80 or a 75 in class and you're writing a 92. That 75 in class is practice. I want that number up higher. That number should almost be the same as your grade on your exam. That tells me you're giving everything you got. When you're in class and you're just flying by, you're not paying attention, you're doing your thing, and then you write the exam, that just shows me, okay, you're great. You're great at game time, but you're not good doing the hard work. So how can I make you better?
That's right.
If you're not willing to do that work. So that's how I evaluate kids. Some kids ask me, well, let me see a report card. I don't care about your huddle. I don't care about all that stuff. Let me see your report card before we go anywhere. And then I look at it and I go, okay, no, you don't have it. Yes, you have it. Or no, you don't have it. And this is why. Go prove me wrong.
Right.
My son, he was living with his mother in British Columbia, and he wanted to be a football player, and he wanted to come and live with me in Eastern Canada, and he was on the West Coast. He came to me with below 60 average. He looked like a light bulb, a pear-shaped body. And I said to him, okay, you want to come and live with me? We're going to make a deal. You got to maintain an 80 average. You got to do this, this, and this. He came to me after his first semester, and he got a 78.5 average. Now, inside, I'm thinking he's doing the hard work. But now I got to be coach dad.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the F are you thinking? You're bringing me a 78.5. You're supposed to have an 80. We have an agreement together, So, you know what's going to happen next semester? You owe me 81.5. That's how hard I was with him on that to get his grades, to get him to understand the hard work. Then it was taking him to the gym and getting him to lift weights. So when he came to me, he wasn't nationally ranked. After being with me for 6 months, he was number 78 in the country, a top football in any position. And when I was finished with him, going to Episcopal, he was number 7 in the country. And he had a 90 average, and he was lifting in the gym 6 days a week, and his body had totally changed, and he was benching 225 for 30 reps, and he was squatting 700 pounds, and he was doing all. That was him doing the hard work that needs to be done to be a football player. So those are the kind of kids I look for, is quality, character guys. I don't like 5-star players, because to themselves, they're already in the NFL. They're already the big stars. I want a kid that's a 1-star, 2-stars, got real hard character, that wants to work hard, because he's going to make everyone else around him work hard. So he's going to make those 3 stars become 5 stars under my coaching. So that's the kind of kids that I look for, and that's what I think universities coaches should be looking, or college coaches in the States should be looking for, those kind of kids, because all this, show me the money, I want this NIL. This whole thing has gone from, what even a coach would buy you a coffee and you get in trouble, and now they're giving millions of dollars away. It's like, what the hell's happened here? Like, where's the incentive for these kids to become better? Where's these incentives to do it? We're ruining the game of football. I understand the universities are making a lot of money off of this, and there's a ton of it. And I think it's a shame and it's a crime that these sports networks and these universities, but everything costs money. So the kids are getting a free education. The kids should get some money. I don't think that a quarterback that should be getting $4 million a year playing university football when an NFL quarterback's getting $1 million. I mean, I don't know. And at the end of the day, it's you and I and the fans that go to these games are going to pay these prices, because how are you going to pay these salaries? How are you going to pay this? I mean, corporations are donating money and stuff. It's the wrong message. I don't think it's the right way to go. I think that a kid should get every kid should get the same amount of money in university. Should all be treated the same, whether it's even 50 grand a year. Free education, you're getting a lot of food. 50 grand a year is a lot of money for a kid to get himself in trouble. You know, um, I think that should be the ceiling amount. And I think what they should do is give the kids, when they have kids, they automatically get a free education. If you graduate from a university, okay, and then down the road, you've graduated, you're pro, and you're in your 50s, and you're raising up your kids and ready to go to university, they should be able to attend your university for free for education because of the sweat, blood, and the broken bones that you put for that university 25 years earlier. That's how it should be set up as an incentive. I don't think that kids should be making all that kind of money at that age. They can't handle it, and you know, when they go pro, how are they going to adjust? It's just, I just don't see it. I think the kids should get money. Don't get me wrong, but I think there should be, you're not a pro player. You're a university football player. Let's keep it, like, we got to keep all the things up. In high school, kids, this is where we're going to be going down to Teddy Bridgewater later on. I got a lot to say about that one because, that's, again, is something that I believe that should be looked into and done properly. I've helped players out when I coached. So
it's there's such an important emphasis on the community. You just described you're working with your son there. How much work did he get outside of just maybe what the athletic department had budgeted? And the high school teams, we're talking about culture and meshing teams together. Sometimes at the high school level, you're rolling with what you got. And it takes the community to really give them some of the extra resources to put them in positions to be successful. And that brings up a story in the news that happened recently, which really has been blowing my mind. Teddy Bridgewater, who retired from the NFL in 2023 and was now coaching at his high school alma mater, just got suspended for a full year. Why? Because he spent nearly $70,000 of his own money on things like Uber rides, team meals, paint for the field, team gear, the basic things you need as a high school team to operate. And maybe there's a counter argument about competitive equity and saying, well, if this school can have that and this one can't afford it, nonsense. And before I even go on a tangent, please.
That's total BS. If that's the case, I'd be suspended for 10 lifetimes. I've coached high school ball. I've helped out. I've done things. I always believe in brotherhood, creating things. Now, one of the things I love about football does not recognize race, color, or money. It recognizes heart. Okay. So we have a sport where aggression comes out. We're dealing with young men. A lot of them come from families that have lower income. They can't afford all the good things. And as a coach, you become a parent. And as a parent, you got an obligation to make sure that you bring the best out of each of those kids that are underneath your help. One kid may not need money because his dad does well. But he needs extra coaching, extra time of me to teach him the game. You're going to get a kid that knows the game, but can't afford cleats, can't have a breakfast. That means he can't play. So what Teddy's doing is he's helping everybody. He's creating a culture. He's creating home pride for his school, his neighborhood, his community, taking care of the locker room, doing the things that need to be done, getting the kids the meals, getting the kids the help, making the kids buy into a program. And I think that the people are looking at this in the wrong light. I mean, Teddy's doing what we should do. Now, you start talking about unfair practice. Well, all the other schools, they may not have a Teddy Bridgewater, but they got the businesses out there. They got the boosters. They got kids that have graduated from that school. They can go out and hustle and do their own thing. That school right now is fortunate that Teddy was able to come in and do the things that he wanted to do. When I coached, we had nothing. I went out and I looked at the field and I was like, holy crap. Okay, there's a field. There's no advertising. There's no food being served. The bleachers were falling apart and all this kind of stuff. And I said, okay, guys, you want to be a coach here? This is what we're going to do. I went out and got sponsors from the lumberyard place, this and that. We fixed up the bleachers. We painted them. We painted the goalposts. I got logos painted on the field. I went out and got business sponsors, the sponsors to go around. Then I went and I got a shed to make, in Canada, we call it a canteen, a shed to sell hot dogs and hamburgers and things from. And they started pumping food out. That football team that year made a ton of money. And then it helped the other programs in the high school going forward. Now, other schools were complaining. Well, then get off your ass and go do the work that needs to be done to make your program better. I did it on my own. I just moved here from Ontario. Nobody really knew me, and I went out and I performed that. So, and then I take my offensive and defensive line out, and I would take them to Ponderosa, which is a steakhouse, or Spaghetti. They come to my house, and we'd have like 25 guys, 30 people over, and we'd be eating and talking and stuff like that. And it created a brotherhood, and the kids loved it. And so all those things I just told you, I'd be suspended for life. You know?
Every high school coach should be suspended right now if they were really looking at it like that.
It's, and I think as coaches, we have an obligation to try to show the kids love and respect. Okay, Teddy was just showing them respect. He's showing them love. He's showing them leadership. Take charge and do things. And if you've got money, give it. That's how these people should be looking at it. Like, some of these kids are wealthy in the locker room. When they get older, they can come back and do the same thing that Teddy did. Teddy's just setting an example. So I don't like to swear, but if I could swear, drop the F-bomb on your show, I would tell those people that are giving Teddy, I tell them politely to F off. Okay?
Facts.
Mind your own effing business. Get off your own damn ass and go out and do your things that you need to do to make yourself just as competitive. Every time you point a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at you. Okay? So these people are pointing at Teddy. I applaud Teddy. I think it's the most gracious thing you can do. And if they're saying, well, he's buying players to come, he doesn't have to buy players to come to his high school. He's friggin' Teddy Bridgewater. They're going to come to be with him because he made it to the show. You don't need all that other stuff. So it's just, that's part of the luggage that he brings in. When you get players like that, and I think more NFL players, more successful college players should get back into coaching in high school and give back and show leadership to these kids. We want to grow the game and make it better. This is what we need to do with people like Teddy, people like myself. We need to develop a culture that we give back. It's not about it's about the community. It's about giving back and developing younger kids and stuff. Because I love the game of football, but if we don't do the things that are needed, then we're going to run into a situation where kids are going to be left behind. And I'm speaking from a kid from being left behind because of my upbringing. I didn't have anything. It was a pro football player that turned my life around and bought me clothes and got me playing football. So I'm just doing what was passed on. And hopefully, I was talking with Logan about, wearing a football number. He's going to honor Bruce by wearing Bruce's number. So, Bruce's legacy carries on because of the generosity that man did for me. And now he's gone. He's left this planet, and his legacy is still living on because of the generosity, because of the love and the respect. And that's what we need to get back to. Because you buy a lunch or because you get an Uber to a guy to school or a kid's hungry, it's a wrong message to be sending to the kids. And I think it's just, I don't know if it's a racial thing because I don't know if it could be Teddy Bridgewater, black quarterback down there, and he's got these good old boys. I have no idea because I'm not familiar with who's pointing the fingers and stuff like that. I hate to think it's like that because I don't like to think football knows race, knows color. I think it was his heart, and I've always played with that. So I applaud Teddy. I think that Teddy set an example for other athletes to do the exact same damn thing. If you've got kids, if you've got somebody at one of your schools that went and played pro, go knock on his door, ask him to come and help out, ask him to lend his name to the school, ask him to do the things. Russell Wilson, he donated a friggin' whole thing, fitness thing to his private school in North Carolina, Virginia, because my son played against that school there. It's either Virginia or North Carolina, right on the border there. He donated a fitness complex so the kids can train in a better sports facility. Why? Because he's not coaching, it's okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
because he's not sacrificing his time in 5 hours a day. Oh, it's okay now. And it kind of scares me because you look at, in college, you used to get 10 years ago, you were in trouble for giving cream cheese on bagels, and it was just stupidity. Now I'm kind of nervous that stupidity might trickle down into high school play now with this first example we're seeing with it and high dollars being involved in high schools. And it's just such a shame because this matters. And just like you described yourself, you were taught how to do this. And one of my favorite lines in your book was, because of this one random act of kindness, a true legacy was born. Darin, can you talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about your mentorship and who really stepped up when you were a child to pull you out of hard times to ultimately put you on a path of success for your life?
Well, if you go back to my childhood, I was beaten, raped, and abused by male babysitters at the age of 4 and 5 years of age. My father broke my nose. He broke my jaw. Um, my mother had left. My father was taking care of us. We had bounced. I went to 27 different schools by the time I got to grade 9. I was 10 years old, 11 years old. I was under the care of the Salvation Army Children's Village in London, Ontario, where I was raped and abused by a counselor there. So I had a lot of issues in my life growing up. I did not have a normal childhood. I was stealing food at 7 years of age so my brother and I could eat because my father was gone for 4 days. So that's the kind of life that I grew up. So I went to a football camp. First time I ever decided to play football, I was 14 years old. And I hitchhiked. I've got some gear from the school, and I hitchhiked to the Toronto Argo camp in Toronto. And I did the camp, had fun. That was great. So I was on my way back, got my garbage bag over my shoulder. I was hitchhiking, and up this big black Mercedes pulls up along the side of the road, and window comes down and goes, "Hey, boy, what the hell are you doing hitchhiking?" I was like, "I'm getting back home to my group home." So where do you live? I said, "Mississauga." And Bruce lived in the other direction. It was the captain of the Toronto Argos, Bruce Smith. And what makes it so special about him, he grew up in Brownsville, Texas. As a black guy in the 50s. Being a black guy back in those days down there would not have been a fun place to be raised. And his stepfather was a abusive alcoholic and beat him and all that kind of stuff. And, so for a black guy that's gone through all that to stop his car to give me a ride to my group home, kind of was like, I had long hair and skinny white kid, 145 pounds, 5'11", and this guy was like 6'3", 270 pounds, solid muscle. So he dropped me to my group home. The next day he showed back at my group home and he said, "I'm going to take you to a gym. I'm going to lift some weights. You want to play football? We're going to do this." I said, "Well, I don't want gym stuff." He took me to the gym, took me to a store and bought me clothes, and we went to work out. Now he's 28, 29 years of age, 29 at the time. So here's a guy in the prime of his career, 29 years of age, doing the things that pro athletes should be doing all the time, helping out, giving back. So he, it basically took on the role of being my big brother, my father figure in my life. He's the first person that showed me unconditional love and respect. That went a long way. So I started to play football at 15, and I wore number 61. And then, like Bruce died 12 years ago of pancreatic cancer. And I've got his chain that he wore when he died. I did his eulogist, where our friendship lasted. Well, let's see, it's been 46 years, 47 years since I met him. And I still consider him a friend today, even though he's gone, because he still lives with me. So he's the reason why I was able to come out. He was able to give me the guidance, the fathership that I needed, the guidance that I needed. And there's a lot of kids that in Bridgewater might try to do the same thing, at the school. He just gave me an opportunity to flourish, which is all I needed, So when I was 15, I used to take my anger to play football, and I think of the guy that raped me, put that vision in my head, and I'd ball out, and I'd beat the crap out of everybody that's in front of me. It's kind of funny today. I don't think of that anymore because I've healed myself through writing the book and dealing with things, because we can get into that in a little bit. But I play the game with love and respect now, and I still play damn good. So, but that generosity and that man saved my life, and he was an amazing person. He played defensive line. I had to play defensive line. I had no choice, and it ended up, when I met him, he was 140 pounds bigger than me. When I finished my pro career, I was 30 pounds bigger than him and an inch taller than. So, when you start thinking about DNA and stuff like that, like I became Bruce's kid. And it's a fun fact, and I think you read that in the book, is where at the people always used to call me Bruce's kid. And so when doing some research about my father and trying to find out some things, we found out that my dad was adopted because his father was an alcoholic when my grandmother remarried. And so she I had the boys, my dad and his brother adopted because they had two more kids. They want all the kids to have the Burns name. And everyone back then used to call me Bruce's kid, Bruce's kid. And Bruce never heard this story because I found it after he's gone. And I know he'd be killing himself laughing right now. That my father was actually born Linton James Smith, which meant that if my dad never got adopted, my last name would have been Smith. So I like in my book, I talk about I was always meant to be a Smith, but only Bruce's.
Mm, wow. Wow. Folks, the book is very unfiltered. It's one of those things that if you're ever having a bad day or you're ever feeling sorry for yourself, being able to reference something like this book, it will really put it into perspective of maybe I don't have it this bad, or other people have it a lot worse, or other people are living in nightmares. And it's a great story of really pushing through all of that. What would you say the core message that your book, 61 and Never Forgotten, what would you really want the listeners to, if they were to pick up that book, what will they gain from reading such an inspiring story like that?
Don't give up. That's basically, like you just don't give up on things. Like we give up on things too easily. We give up on kids too easily. Give up on this too much. Like I've persevered and I've gone through a lot of things in my life. I've had great success, and I don't want people to feel sorry for me when they read the book. It's because for me, I'm in a great place now. So what I'm asking people to do, instead of feeling sorry for me and feeling, oh, well, poor me, hear me, listen to me, because what I have to say in that book is important for not just football, for everyday life. And it's, in society, we've gone completely stupid. I mean, whether we're America, I'll call us all North Americans, okay? Canadian America. I'll just do first I'm not going to pick on the Americans. I'm going to pick on the Canadians. We've all become stupid in the last 5-10 years. When internet, social media, everyone's a professional. Everyone knows this. Everyone knows that. Hatred. Where the hell is all this hatred come in the world? Like,
getting it back a little bit on topic here, one of my favorite stories about yours is you actually got to play football with your son, who was playing Division II football at the time, which is quite literally a Division I football at the time, quite literally unheard of. Can you please tell us about what that experience was like?
Yeah, I went to his coach. My son was getting to his draft year, but my son didn't want to go play pro. He got offers to go play pro. He just decided he didn't want to do it. He's becoming a police officer now. He's had enough with football. He says, Dad, you've done enough for both of us. So it's all right. But we wanted to set a record of playing at a high level of football. So we got permission from his coach at the university to have him come and play a game with me. So he plays offensive line, which I don't know where I went wrong as a father breeding an offensive lineman, but I mean, that's another story. But he decided he wanted to come and play defensive line beside his dad. So the team allowed it, and he played tackle right beside me. And it was only supposed to be for one series. So we got the first series done. Taylor had a tackle. So now I got to get one, right? So he turned to me and said, Dad, I want to screw the school. Let's just finish this game. So I told the coach he wants to play the game. He said, they let Taylor play right beside me the whole game. The guy that Taylor took his spot, he was happy just to sit back and just enjoy the show. So, he had 4 tackles and a sack. I had 3 tackles and a sack. And we were just competing and going after the quarterback. And it was the most amazing experience. The football gods blessed me. Like I would trade, if I had a Super Bowl or a Grey Cup ring or both, I would trade 5 of each of them for that one experience, because to me, that's going to stay with me forever. And everybody that was at the stadium that day will remember that day. They won't remember who won the game. We won the game, of course, but they wouldn't remember they'll remember what we did together that day. It was incredible. And for me, it was the most, it was the highlight of my career. Like it's not like I was 20 years old and I'm a father. So now I'm 38, he's 18. I was 36 when I held him in my hand for the first time. So to look at that when I'm 36 years of age and looking down at that and going, I'm going to play football with you in 24 years. So be ready. That's basically, so it was from a football guy who loves the sport and respects the sport. That to me is the ultimate high that you could ever have as a father, as a football guy. There's nothing better than that. and I'm just fortunate that, my coach, my junior coach, I told him about, my pro career. I mean, I had knee injuries and stuff like that. So I heard I'm getting through training camps. I made practice rosters, and, one team I made at the end folded, the Montreal Alouettes. But I told my coach that, yeah, my body let me down because I felt that I could have been a Hall of Fame football player. Okay, easy. My records still stand today from junior. Like from 40 years, they're still in the record books for sacks in a game, career, and season. Um, and to have them still at 40 years and still holding them, it's a great honor. But my coach, he always has a weird way of bringing me down to ground. He just said, Darin, he's religious, and so I surround myself with religious people, and he goes, God didn't have you ready for then. He got your body ready for today because this is what you're about.
Powerful. It's incredible. It's just something you really don't hear. The last time I heard of it was LeBron James and Bronny James, them playing together now. So Darin, you just played your last regular season game this past Saturday, and you guys are in the playoffs now. That's right?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a game on Saturday.
So this is it for you, hanging up the cleats after this. Are you excited for this next journey of your life, this next chapter? Are you anxious? What are the feelings like right now?
I'm looking forward to fishing because let's face it, during the season it's hard to get out fishing and stuff like that, traveling. I could still play till I'm 65, which I could get this to 2030s and play 7 decades if I really wanted to. I'm benching 405. I'm still benching 225 for 20 reps. I'm still running under a sub 5.640. I'm still doing all the timing things that, college players should do and stuff like that. And so I'm being competitive. So I'm being honest there and looking at it, I could still play. So I'm not looking that I'm walking off the game as an old 61-year-old falling apart. Well, I finished my last game. I had a sack. I told everybody, so the first play of the game, I'm going to do a speed move, brush move, and go after the quarterback. This is exactly what I did. Almost got an interception, missed the ball by about that much on diving to catch it from a tip pass. Involved in a couple of tackles, had a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I'm still able to play, but it's time to let the other kids play. It's time for me to move on and do something. Yes, it's going to be hard. I'm probably going to be emotional as all hell. I'll be probably like a little crying little baby at the end of that when I walk off the field. But it's about, the game has given me my whole life. Like I was a ball boy for the Argos when I was 14 when I met Bruce. The head coach was Forrest Gregg. Vince Lombardi said the greatest football player ever coached was Forrest Gregg. I was ball boy for Forrest for 2 years. And then during that time, I got the one game I had a privilege. We had a kick returner on our team by the name of Eddie Payton. And his brother came up to watch him play. So the coach said, Darin, can you look after Eddie's brother while he's watching, go up in the press box, and if he needs anything, get him, whatever. I said, sure. His brother was Walter Payton. So I had to sit with Walter Payton and watch his brother play football and talk to him. And he gave me a lot of advice and things that I still take to today and stuff. I always to be the best. You got to work the hardest and all that kind of stuff. And that's the things that I've always done. Whatever I've done, I've always been the best at doing. Real estate, doing all the stuff. I was always the best at doing it because that's what I expect of myself. And that's what was bred into me by Bruce and the conversations like that. The other 2 ball boys on our team were Alonzo Highsmith and Eric Metcalf. Not too bad, shabby ball boys. They had stellar NFL careers because their dads played on the team as well. So going through and then, in 19, I think I read in the book that I thought I was going to kill myself. I had the gun. I had everything. I was ready to do that because I got sick and I was let go from a football team and I was really in a really depressed state. I didn't want to bring Bruce down on it. So it was Christmas. I was going to kill myself, blow my brains out. And some weird reason, I went for a walk to get something to eat, almost like a last meal, get a bucket of KFC chicken. I'll never forget it. And I was coming back, and in the mailbox, I had this little attic apartment I was living in and stuff like that. And in the mailbox, there was a card. So I got it and opened it up, and it was from Coach Trimble, the coach that I told you that get your body right. And it was basically just saying, I heard what happened in Hamilton. It's terrible. I think you're a hell of a football player. And if you come and play for me, I'll make you great. So I got that card. I read it. I called him and said, I'm in. That card saved my life. And I became great. I set records that year and the year after. That's, like I said, still stand today. And no one's touched them. So not even close. So like I said, I owe everything to the game. So walking away from the game, I'm going to be relieved because there's a lot of pressure. I have like literally millions of people right now following me. Millions.
Yeah, what's that experience been like? You're in a media frenzy right now.
I I'm honored. I think it's great, because I'm getting I've got this platform, and as that platform is to talk about child abuse and coming forward. That's why with my story, it's to give me this platform that I can talk about what happened to me and try to help other people. If more athletes would come forward and talk about their hard times growing up and talk about private stuff like being raped. I couldn't talk about that in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. It was a very difficult thing to be looked at and looked differently from public and stuff. That now people have come more in tune with it. So I need more athletes to come forward with their story, tell their story, tell them what happened, why it's going on. It's going to help the younger kids get help or understand that, hey, it happened to me just recently. I'm going to bring it forward, and we can get charges on these pricks, and then we can put them in jail and make them wear yellow suits so everyone can see who they are, and they'll put them in PC and get the shit kicked out of them in jail. That's the perfect punishment for those pedophiles. But I think that, we need to be more engaged as athletes. You don't have to be a football player. You can be a hockey player. You can be a baseball player. You can be a hockey player. Whatever sport you play in. Come forward and tell you, like Sheldon Kennedy and Darren Fleury, they talked about their abuse that they had from their hockey coach in junior hockey and stuff like that. And that guy got charged and sent to jail, and justice was done and things like that. We need kids to understand that stuff happens to us and it's okay. Yep. Other people have gone through it. I've gone through it. So you can't. I've gone through all of the abuse groups. I was bullied, I was beaten by my father and other people, and I was raped. That's the trifecta of abuse. And I've tasted it all. And I want these kids to know that they're loved, they're respected, and that they're not alone. And I think as athletes, this is why I'm still playing. I'm carrying Bruce's legacy because this is what Bruce wanted me to do when he was dying. We talked about how to honor him. Wasn't necessarily playing football 61, but I thought that this was the best way to do it because I figured I could still do it. He wore 61. I wore 61. I am 61. This is daughter Bruce. So
Phenomenal.
That's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And yeah, it's been an amazing experience, and I'm truly honored. Like I my Facebook page, everybody on my Facebook page, I say happy birthday to. Personally, I don't take it for granted. I'm engaged with all of my followers, because if they didn't take the time to listen to my story, I got to show them the same respect back. And then when you give respect, you get it back. So, and that should be like for all of us. So I just hope that, I can make some changes. I can bring light out about abuse and the things that we need to try to fix things. Because if you look at homelessness, drug addiction, suicide, and people in jail, they all have one thing in common. It's very strong. Over 75% in all categories have been abused.
Wow.
So if you want to fix the problems on the street, you want to fix the homelessness, you want to fix this, you want to fix that, fix the kids. A tree can't grow without roots. How do you expect a child to? That's my tagline that I say to people. So showing you, like I was a log on the road, was rotting. And Bruce took me home, put some in a pot of water with some soil, and I developed roots. And I was able to stand on my own.
Yeah.
That is what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to get this out so we can fix the kids. We're spending all this money on needle places or this or that or shelters. It's costing us taxpayers money. It's coming over everything. If we can spend half of that money on developing programs working with kids, real programs, not BS stuff that makes politicians look good, but the real hard work that needs to be done, we can make changes and we can fix a lot of our social problems that we have going on. But we got to be willing to do the hard work and stay committed to it. Have the tough conversations. Talk about the rape. Like in my book, I talk about feeling the pressure of somebody shoving something in my backside. I get very descriptive because I want the people to feel what it was like to be a 5-year-old. I want them to understand what I felt when my father kicked the shit out of me. I wanted people to realize that, to feel the pain when you read the book. If I'm going to make changes, I got to get to your heart, not just your mind. So that's why I opened up right away on the whole thing to describe my experience so that people will feel stronger to come forward and tell their stories and to start making effective change. That's what we really need to do as society. And, enough of all this BS of fighting each other and hate and this and that. And, well, you're wrong because you're this and that. Well, at the end of the day, we don't know what happens to us when we die. We all have faith. We all have beliefs. That's all we go on. Like, I haven't died and come back and told you what's going to go on. And even somebody said they died and came back, can you really believe? It's all faith. It's all faith. We're all humans. Let's start acting like it and all get along. There's nothing wrong with having healthy debates. There's nothing wrong with having different opinions. That's what makes us all great. And the United States, by the way, is a land of immigration. So you guys were built by immigrants coming in. But I think that as athletes, though, we can make the changes. And we have to work hard, tell our stories, and go and help the kids out, because that's where it starts. You can't change a 50-year-old homeless guy, but you can fix a 10-year-old. And that's what we need to do. Do what Bruce did. Bruce helped me change my life, and I can tell you, I've affected thousands of people. So when Bruce was dying, he said to me, he says, I failed. And I looked at Bruce and I said, how do you say that? He goes, well, I got other things to do. I looked at him and said, you know something? Do me a favor. Take your head out of your ass. I said, because you changed my life. And if we can all go through life changing one person's life, it's going to be a lot better world. And you changed my life, and I changed thousands of people because of what you did for me. So do me a favor. Stop with the pitying. Let's just die together. That was my conversation with him. And I said, so when I did his eulogy, I brought that up. I said that Bruce said he failed. And I said, look at this room here. Look at these kids that came in by bus that he was mentoring and stuff like that. He made a lot of changes. One person. He's affected. I'm just a tool from Bruce. And Bruce is still alive today in my heart and in the spirit. And even his teammates tell me number 61 in New Jersey, but number 1 in our hearts. So, his legacy is going to live on because of what he did. And there's no greater, being a pro athlete, getting all these big checks is great. But wouldn't you like to have a guy that worships the ground that you walk on for the rest of your life? And even after you've left this planet, that's a great honor to have. And Bruce has got that for me.
Yeah. Folks, bottom line is there's nothing really like getting involved in your community. I think sports is a great starting place to start, and getting involved and helping your local high school athletes. It could really, really change their lives. Before we jump back into the show, a quick shout out to one of our proud sponsors, Gardner Roofing. If you're looking for a roofer you can trust, Gardner Roofing has been Colorado's go-to team since 1998. They're family owned, built on integrity, and they treat every roof like it's their own. Whether it's repairs, a full replacement, or just a free inspection, Gardner Roofing is the name Colorado trusts. Check them out at gardnerroofs.com or give them a call at 303-332-6224. Gardner Roofing, their family has your family covered. Darin, where could people follow you right now on Facebook, social
right
media,
now,
or even go buy the book at?
My book, you can get it on, you can look it up on Indigo or Chapters or all those things online to buy
Amazon.
books. Amazon, definitely. You can reach me at Darin J61, and my name is spelled Darin, Darin. So Darin J61 is my Instagram, and then Darin Burns on my Facebook. You can follow, because my friend list is full, but you can tag on to follow. I stay in communication with everybody. I give everybody the highlights of what's going on in my life, things that are going on. And I do hope there's going to be more of a chapter going on. I still got 2 more games to play, so I'm looking to lead this game, leading this football career behind with a championship. But it's been an honor to talk to people, get my story out, and to spread the legacy of Bruce, because it's not about me. It's about Bruce Smith. He is what I call 61 people call it a football number. I always say it's a badge of honor. And Bruce put it on me. and I put it on a bunch of other people. So if anyone's listening to this, they need help, reach me through Instagram, reach me through my Facebook on Messenger. I had one person one time was going to kill himself, and I was able to get him help. So he went through abuse. So it's we need to have that serious talk as a human race. We need to start looking at the real reasons why we have all these problems, in culture and stuff like that. And a lot of it goes with bullying. Bullying and rape and physical abuse is all under the same umbrella to me. Whether you bully a person or you rape a person, a kid, it's the same thing. It's all this abuse. They're both just as damaging, and we need to stop it. We need to fix it, because you know something? The guys that bullied me are scared shitless of me today. I'm 6'5", 295. I'll rip your friggin' head off, and they know that. So always remember, like I say, when you point a finger at somebody that's 3 point back, when you bully a kid, they grow up. And I hope they grow up strong with strong roots, and make these people feel uncomfortable, and to get justice and stuff that needs to be done. Like, it's a terrible thing, but it's a hard conversation that we need to have as a human race. We need to do it. And it's not an American, it's not a Canadian, it's not a British, not a German, it's not a Chinese or nothing like that. It's a human problem. And, our society, I don't know how bad it is in the States, but up here we have more people living on streets than living in houses. It's gotten that bad. And it's a shame, because there's no reason why. I don't have an education. I don't have all this stuff. I had love and respect and a very important time where my life was going to go, because I was already destroyed as a kid. But Bruce was able to replant me into the ground and have me going in the correct way. We need more Bruces. And I know there's a lot of Bruces in the States that can do what Bruce did. We just got to get up off our ass. Bruce had a thing, it's in the Bible: faith without works is dead. People say, Christian people say, I'm going to pray for that person, I'm going to pray for that person. That's just BS to me, because that's just a Christian saying that to make themselves feel good. Go do what Bruce did. Go buy that guy a sandwich, get him a coffee, sit down, talk to him for a minute, give it to him, and then say, I'm going to pray for you afterwards. Do the work. Because I can't sit at home and say, oh, God, please, I want to be a millionaire. You have to go out and work it. He will give you advice on how to get to your direction. The prayer is more for you to feel good inside. Doing the hard work is for that person. Because that person can't feel the prayer right then. He can't wait 30 days for something to happen. But when you go and give him a sandwich and make his belly fill, and you go pray, you're going to feel a lot better, and he's going to feel a lot better. And he's going to say, man, I'm getting some respect. Guys are in jail. They don't get the respect. So what do you expect when they come out of jail? They're going to be a-holes. They're going to be worse when they were when they came in, because they're going to be angry and all stuff. We need to have programs to soften these people, get them to do things. We're housing this. We're doing this. We're not doing any of the hard work. People are committing suicide because they're lonely, because they've got, like, I thought of it. And it's because of all the crap that we carry in our filing cabinets that can't get out, because we don't know how to get it out. So we have a lot of things to work on, and I just hope that my book, which I don't know if you can show it, but there's my book. It's shameless of me hamming up a book, but I think it's a good book, and it references Michael Orr from The Blind Side in there on the back. We can't help, how we were born, but we can change our direction. And I totally believe in it. I am a proof of that. And I want to thank you for this. This has been great to get my story out. Hopefully, we can get this, going out. And if you want to have me on at another time later on, I'd love to be on the show again.
Absolutely. Well, hey, you enjoy your media frenzy, Darin. I wish you the best of luck in the playoffs here. Really enjoy those last couple games. I really can't even imagine what that's going to feel like, but really appreciate you coming on and talking about your experiences again, folks. 6 decades worth of playing football. Thanks a lot to Darin for coming on. That's it for this episode of the Gridiron Unfiltered. Make sure you follow the Fan Day Nation so you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.